Zwelithini. So let's just listen to Miss Louisa Blomerus first. But thank you very much, Sops. It was really interesting. And as you can see, we all need to be rooted. Louisa, you can continue with your talk. Before you start, I just also want to remind the people that Miss Louisa Blomerus has also been with the ARC for more than 30 years. So you can see when you do breeding that it's just really a fun job to be in because people stay here forever. Thank you, Louisa. The floor is yours, and she's going to entice us with all the beauty of flowers.
Good morning, everybody. I will be presenting to you from the beautiful gardens at ARC Infrutech in Stellenbosch. As you can see, it's a nice and shiny day, so let's start with flowers. So we will be shifting now from fruit to flowers. And thank you to Zelda and to Tybos for a very good introduction. So I will do some revision on some of the slides they had. So please pay attention, but it's flowers, but it's still an agricultural crop. So the smart title of my talk is Exploring Variation. Variation you have heard about this morning already. In flower characteristics for Leucospermum, I will tell you what Leucospermum is in a short moment, through interspecific hybridization. First, just to give you some background of where Leucospermum fit in. Oh dear, my slide disappeared on the content of my talk. I will give you some background and then the normal introduction, material, methods, and conclusions, results and conclusions. Okay, to start off with, Leucospermum fall into the family Protea or Proteaceae. So Leucospermum's family is the Protea, which you all know is our national flower. And then the Leucospermum, also known as a pin cushion, and then Leucadendron, the cone bush. And in Leucadendron, you get male and female plants. So there's the sexes are separated into two different kind of plants. So you will see quite different, but Linnaeus many years ago decided their flower morphology is close enough to be in one family. Okay, so what is Proteaceae flowers used for? It's actually to make money. If you're into agriculture, you want to make money. And the uses are quite wide. You can use it as a fresh product in arrangements. It's been sold as dried products. It's been sold as uniform boxes packed tightly, or as a bouquet in the flower shops where you will see them usually. You can use them in gardening. They're quite popular as water-wise indigenous flowers, garden specimens. You can also use to rehabilitate natural fields that's been disturbed for some reason. And Zelda referred to domestication. Most of you will still think about proteas, make it Leucadendron, Leucospermum, even Gladiolus and Freesias. They all grew wild in South Africa, and that's where their journey started. They were harvested in the wild, and the proteas were mainly sold on the sidewalks in Cape Town for many, many years. But then the demand increased. And as Zelda also said, people didn't want to go out into the fields anymore, climb mountains. Some of these proteas, you really have to climb a mountain to get to them. So they harvested the seeds and broadcast sowed it closer to their houses. So they had to know how to germinate seed. So with every step in domestication of a plant, you need some technologies. So if you need to or want to sow seed, you need to know how to germinate that. Okay, from these broadcast sown seed plantations, they saw that some plants were more, and the flowers were more beautiful or more vigorous, and they started formal plantations, planting plants in a row, so that they can care for them more properly and reach them more properly. And then they kept on with their selection process, but the technology were developed to propagate vegetatively. That meant that they could make a selection, take cuttings, and establish a plantation with all the plants looking exactly the same. No more variation, and there they could start packing these uniform boxes with flowers looking exactly the same in the photo on the left bottom. And now we start with intensive cultivation, but then you need not species anymore. Now you use cultivars. That's improved. Okay, so now as a case study, we're going to focus on Leucospermum. Just for interest's sake, every pin you see on a Leucospermum or a protea is actually the flower. So a pincushion flower that we refer to as a flower is actually an inflorescence. So if you want to do hybridization, you need to focus on every little pin. Just on the side, we will get to that. Okay. Leucospermum is one of the most important floric commodities in the floriculture industry. And how many stems are sold? About 15 million Leucospermum stems, excluding the others, were sold last season. Season lasting from June 2021 to January 2022, and the flower numbers peak around about October. And the export markets primarily depend on only 4 cultivars, Succession there at the top, Tango here at the bottom, Ayoba Sun, and Sulail. But the range of products that are sold are quite wide. So if you want to breed, we need to know what variety. Tybos also talked about variety. Do we have? What material do we have? Here you will see Leucospermum cordifolium is one of the popular parents. Leucospermum pattersoni, lineari, vestitum, coniforme, and totum. They are the most popular to use in hybridization because they have the characteristics what the client are looking for. But as you can see, the shape of the flower differ, the pins differ, the colors differ. So and the leaf shape, you must also remember the leaves must be beautiful because the product are enjoyed by the eyes. And the ARC had or are having a long-running breeding program on these plants. Tybos also showed you some pictures on the breeding or the pollination technique. It's a standard protocol, and you need patience when you breed any of the Proteaceae. Day 1, you get to your flower and you remove all the open pins. And you cover the flower with a bag to keep the pollinators out. About 2 days later, you come back, you remove the gauze bag, and you start with your pollination. Firstly, you remove the pollen, because on the little tip of that style, your pollen and your stigmatic groove are next to one another. So you carefully remove the plant's own pollen because it will fertilize itself. You add the male parent's pollen into the groove at the tip of the little flower. Then you remove all the flowers that you did not pollinate yourself. And you cover it again with the gauze bags to prevent gogos and things from reaching your flowers, but also to be able to collect your seeds. Because when a Leucospermum seeds are ripened, it falls to the ground and it gets distributed by ants. So you need to catch your seed. And can we breed pincushions? Yes, we can. And you will also see that the topic of my talk is interspecific hybridization, meaning making crosses between species. For example, here, Anouk was released by the ARC with plant breeders' rights. It's a combination of 4 different species. Cordifolium pattersoni as female parent was used, and it was crossed with a genetics of totem and glabrum in the background of the father. So there's Rigoletto, Tango, Temba, Yayote, and High Gold. All very, very popular cultivars in the industry. Conclusion, Tybos gave you a very nice explanation on inheritance. So what we also do is we take a complex parent, for instance, in this case, High Gold cultivar were crossed with Spider as the father, and that then we got this nice hybrid about 5 years later. And then to get an idea of the hidden genes, we self-pollinated this hybrid, and a lot of variation was exposed. Another 4 to 5 years later. So you need patience and you need to stay long with the breeding program. So thank you very much for your attention. Any questions?
Louisa, I don't see any hands currently. I think people will probably think out a question or two still, but what a colorful talk. And just again,